Just before this episode, here's how you can get more from Never a Truer Word. If you're listening to this podcast on Spotify, you can subscribe to this channel to get early access to the weekly analysis episodes, video episodes so you can see the statements as I analyse them, and exclusive content too. And if you're here on YouTube, then become a member of the channel to get early access to everything and exclusive content not available anywhere else. Who is the Watcher, and what is it that the Watcher wants? That's what we're looking at in this series from Never a Truer Word, where we look at the words that people choose to use to see if they're telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And we're in a real life mystery with this series. This is episode 3, looking at the case of the Watcher. It's a real story made famous by a Netflix dramatization, but it really did happen, and it happened to Derek and Maria Broaddus. They bought a house in 2014 in New Jersey in a town called Westfield, and very soon after they bought that house, they started receiving anonymous notes from someone naming themselves the Watcher. But what did they want? Why were they getting in touch with the Broadduses? It's not entirely clear from the letters. And who are they? That's what we're going to look at in this series as I look at each letter word by word to try and figure out just who is the Watcher. So far, I've examined 2 letters and come up with these theories on who the Watcher is. I think the Watcher is female. The language tends to give away that the Watcher is female. I think in some way they're real estate connected. Their job involves real estate in some way, and I think they know the couple. Rather than knowing the house, which they seem quite fixated on, they know the Broadduses in some way, and we're going to look and see a little bit more of that in this letter 3. Are you ready? Where have you gone to? 657 Boulevard is missing you. Are you one of those Hoboken transplants who are ruining Westfield? The house is crying from all the pain it is going through. You have changed it and made it so fancy. You are stealing its history. It cries for the past and what used to be in the time when I roamed its halls. The 1960s were a good time for 657 Boulevard, when I ran from room to room, imagining the life with the rich occupants there. The house was full of life and young blood. Then it got old, and so did my father. But he kept watching until the day he died. And now I watch and wait for the day when the young blood will be mine again. It's a short letter, and it starts with a question. And questions are a theme of the Watcher. Where have you gone to? 657 Boulevard is missing you. Once more, we have this theory or concept that the house is a person. It has human actions, and houses don't miss people. So people miss people. I think that the Watcher is using the house as a metaphor for themselves. They are using the house to verbalize how they feel about things. So I think here, it's not the house that's missing them, because number one, that's impossible. It is the Watcher that is missing the couple. The couple, I think, have not been to the house for a while, probably scared off by the Watcher's letters. So therefore, I think here, the Watcher is missing the Broadduses, missing the interaction it can have with the Broadduses, which suggests that the house or the anonymous letters are the only way this letter writer can interact with the Broadduses. Notice that obviously the Broadduses are giving nothing back to this person, but the Watcher, for some reason, does know that they haven't been to the house and is feeling that loss, maybe that loss of playing with the couple. The first 2 letters both began with attempts at anonymity. It was very important for them to stress who they are or who they weren't when they were writing the letters. No attempt at anonymity at the start of this letter at all. And then the main body of the letter. The house is crying from all the pain it is going through. Once more, we have the house as a person here. Houses do not cry. Houses do not have pain. They do not go through pain. So this, to me, is come from the point of view of the Watcher. The person writing the letters is crying from all the pain it is going through. Now, that's quite a big thing, and that is a hell of a lot more emotional than we've seen in letters 1 and letters 2. The house is crying from all of the pain it is going through. Let me just change that and use the word I instead of the house. I'm crying from all of the pain I'm going through. I think that's the position of the Watcher as they write the letter. They say about the house, you have changed it. Now, Is this just another good guess? They made very good or educated guesses around the house because they know people are working there. So is that just another one of those good guesses that the house must have changed because workers were there? Or do they know the house has changed? It's quite straightforward. You have changed it. Have they driven past again? Do they drive past at the weekend when the Broadduses might have been there checking up on the progress of the work or something? You have changed it. Do they know the house has changed, or is that just a good guess? Same with "I made it so fancy." Do they know the house has been made so fancy, or is that just a guess? No one's going to change a house and make it plainer, are they? No one's going to have some work done in the house and it's going to be plain. Maybe, again, we think the watcher, all they can see is the exterior, so has it changed colour, new windows, new doors, or something like that gone in, and that is being described as "made it so fancy." But again, "made it so fancy," that is a very feminine phrase. I would much more expect to hear that from a woman than I would to hear that from a man. So again, another thing for me in the language that makes me think this is a woman writing these letters. The watcher is female. You have changed it and made it so fancy. The watcher goes on to say, "You are stealing its history. It cries for the past." We have this crying repetition here. Is the watcher crying? Maybe not quite while they write these letters, but are they doing a lot of crying in their lives? The words we say a lot tend to reflect what's going on in our life, so are they crying a lot? And again, "you are stealing its history. It cries for the past." Is humanizing the house once more, but I don't think this is about the house. I think this is about the person. This is about the watcher. You'll see there's nothing specific about the history that is being stolen. In fact, you could say that this is adding to the history. Doing work and changing it is adding to the history, but they are said to be stealing the history. They talk about "it cries for the past" and what used to be in the time when I roamed its halls. And halls is another one of those phrases that they use a lot to talk about the house. Every house of that size has at least a hall. So it's just another one of these good educated guesses. It's not really saying that they were in the house, even though they tried to say that. And it's the first time in the letters that they have tried to say that they have been inside 657 Boulevard. The house is not what it used to be in the time when I roamed its halls. I don't think they did roam the halls at all. It's the first time they've said it. They say the 1960s were a good time for 657 Boulevard. Once more, one of these big, broad ranges of time. The 1960s were a good time. That's 10 years. That's a lot of time in a house. Again, so, there's nothing specific. Again, it's not saying what was good either. Again, it's just this very generic thing. Previously, these were designed to scare, but this has all got the sound of regret in it. The 1960s were a good time from 657 Boulevard when I ran from room to room, imagining the life with the rich occupants here. Couple of concepts there. We've got rich going on. We've had rich again. We've had greed going on with accusations thrown about the couple that they were rich or greedy. There's a bit of a focus on money there, but also maybe a focus on the person that writes this doesn't have a lot of money and they would like to be rich and they imagine the life of the rich times there. You'll notice that just again to say that they haven't actually been in this house, they were imagining the life with the rich occupants there. Well, if you were in the house, even if you were a ghost there in the house, like you're kind of wanting to come across as, you wouldn't have to imagine life with the rich occupants there because you would actually see it with your eyes. You would see the richness, how the money they had presented itself in the decor, the food available, the dress people were wearing, anything like that. If you were actually there in the 1960s, you wouldn't have to imagine the life of the rich occupants there. You would actually be seeing it. And also notice that they talk about the rich occupants of the house. They want to say that the house has been watched by the family for a long time, but they have no name for the family or anything about what they did for a living that made them rich or anything like that whatsoever. Again, it's just really bland and generic. And then they say the house was full of life and young blood. Now, that's interesting. Childish, they're equating children, family to life there. I know I said in one of the earlier episodes, I wondered if this was written by a woman who has suffered the loss of a child at some point. And again, this is another one of those situations where I think that could be happening. Now, this could refer to something maybe a little bit different, which is children growing up, leaving you alone and lonely, or it could be the death of a younger child or the loss of a younger child. And they say the house was full of life and young blood. But once again, are they talking about the house, or is this the watcher talking about themselves? When they talk about the house, I think they are talking about themselves a lot. They say, then it got old. Now that sounds like some great bit of literature. Then it got old. But that's what happens. Time moves on, things get older. There's no deep insight here. It's just a little bit trite, a little bit corny. And then it got old, and so did my father, but he kept watching until the day he died. Again, all just a little bit corny. And now I watch and wait for the day when the young blood will be mine again. I really do think this is someone who is missing a child. Whether they are missing a child or not, definitely in this is a theme of loss. So that's letter number 3. Lots to get into there, but a very different tone. But as it's a short letter, let's spend some time looking at what's been missing across the first 3 letters, because what is missing is often as revealing as what is present. So let's look at what is missing from these letters from the Watcher. First of all is threat. There is no direct threat of anything bad that's going to happen. In fact, they say they just want to be close to the children, really. They want to call the children close to them. They want to know where the children are sleeping. They don't say bad things will happen to the children ever once. They don't say bad things will happen to the Broadduses ever once. So far in letters 1, 2, and 3, threat has been missing from these letters. There's no threat whatsoever. Anonymous letters often carry threat. This carries very, very low level threat. No demand either. Anonymous letters are often about getting someone to do something, but there are no demands. There is nothing in them saying, if you don't do this, if you don't move out, I will do something bad to your family, for example. Or if you don't stop the work to update the house and make it all fancy, then bad things will happen to your family. There's no demand like that whatsoever. The Watcher does not want the Broadduses to change in any way at all. In fact, what the Watcher wants is selfish. The Watcher wants things for themselves, which we will look at in letter 4. And also, I said that the Watcher, I felt, knows the Broadduses personally, but in fact, there's nothing about the Broadduses beyond the fact they're parents and said that they are greedy or they have greed. There's nothing beyond that. So there's no deep knowledge of the Broadduses that comes out. Now, why is that? Is it that if they give specific bits of knowledge they have, then the personality behind the Watcher will be obvious to the Broadduses? Could be, but there's nothing that refers to the Broadduses' job. There's nothing that refers to their hobbies, what they look like, even their age or background or anything like that, or their personality, what sort of dispositions they have at all. So there's nothing that suggests that the Watcher knows the couple, but doesn't deeply know, doesn't have intimate knowledge of the couple and who they are. There is no deep knowledge of the house, none whatsoever. Nothing that they talk about inside the house reveals that they know anything at all about the inside of the house beyond that which is easily guessed. And that's why looking at what is missing can be very revealing in understanding what is going on in someone's words, and especially in these letters. So that is letter 3, a tone change in letter 3. There's nothing scary in letter 3 that really is putting the dread into the Broadduses or trying to put the dread into the Broadduses like the other letters did. That was really trying to get them to be scared and get their minds working and get them in fear. Very, very different, this one. Very big change of tone. It's very much all about sadness for the past. And also I get a sense of desperation there, a sense that the person has maybe all but given up or feels like it's a lost hope. I really do get a sense of depression from that letter, from the writing of the Watcher, especially talking about crying all the time. What was the intent of that letter then? Well, for the first time, it wasn't to scare the Broadduses at all. I don't think the intent I got was contact with the Broadduses. It was, and the contact has all been one way. It's all been about the Watcher sending messages the way of the Broadduses, but they missed that contact that they had with the Broadduses. They knew the Broadduses weren't there as well, which is interesting, and we'll come to shortly. And also to gain pity, there definitely was, please feel sorry for me. Lots of bad things have happened to me. Life isn't as good now as it was then. So what do they know? The Watcher will reveal themselves if we look at what exactly they know. Well, they know the house has changed, which makes me think that for them to say it with such certainty, they have some knowledge of the house, but that's all they know about the Broadduses, and they know the couple haven't been there. So did they check in, or did they hear stories about the Watcher in some way, and that made them feel good? It made them feel satisfied that the Broadduses were talking to friends or family about these letters they got, and this person was hearing about that, maybe not directly from the Broadduses, but a sort of friends of friends of friends way. But they certainly know the couple have not been there at the house recently, and they know that the house has changed. So who is the Watcher? That's the big question. Well, here's some new observations about who the Watcher is. I think the Watcher has suffered loss in their life. I think the Watcher feels lonely or detached from things going on around them. I still think it's a female, but again, I'm not ruling out the fact it could be a flamboyant male. And they know the couple, but it's distant knowledge of the couple. I don't think they know anything too deeply about the couple. Maybe that will change when we analyse letter number 4 in the next episode. Here's letter number 4. It starts, violent winds and a bitter cold, to the vile and spiteful Derek and his wench of a wife Maria. You wonder who the Watcher is. Turn around, idiots. Maybe you even spoke to me, one of the so-called neighbours who has no idea who the Watcher could be. Or maybe you do know and are too scared to tell anyone. Good move. I walked by the news trucks when they took over my neighbourhood and mocked me. I watched as you watched from the dark house in an attempt to find me. Telescopes and binoculars are wonderful inventions. 657 Boulevard survived your attempt and stood strong with its army of supporters barricading its gates. My soldiers of the Boulevard followed my orders to a T. They carried out their mission and saved the soul of 657 Boulevard with my orders. All hail the Watcher. 657 Boulevard is turning on me. It's coming after me. I don't understand why. What spell did you cast on it? It used to be my friend, and now it is my enemy. I am in charge of 657 Boulevard. It is not in charge of me. I will fend off its bad things and wait for it to become good again. It will not punish me. I will rise again. I will be patient and wait for this to pass and for you to bring the young blood back to me. 657 Boulevard needs young blood. It needs you. Come back. Let the young blood play again like I once did. Let the young blood sleep in 657 Boulevard. Stop changing it and let it alone. Maybe a car accident, maybe a fire, maybe something as simple as a mild illness that never seems to go away but makes you feel sick day after day after day after day. Maybe the mysterious death of a pet, loved ones suddenly die, planes and cars and bicycles crash, bones break, you are despised by the house, and the Watcher won. Episode 4 is going to be a wild one then, and that is coming at you very soon as we look at the Watcher and who the Watcher is. Love to know your thoughts, so do get involved in the comments if you can on this platform, or if you want, you can get in touch on social media. You will find all the links to social media in the show notes. The like button is a great thing to do as well, because if you do that, it means the story of the Watcher, this real life mystery, gets to more people. Neveratruerword.com is the website. There you will find a load more videos and a load more podcasts looking at the words that people choose to use and helping you understand how to decode them to find out what it is they are really saying. And we'll see you real soon for the last episode of The Watcher from Never a Truer Word.